First off, yes, everybody, I have seen Pete Rose has died.
That's sad.
It is sad. Rest in peace, Pete
Sad.
Rose.
Clint, you didn't have anything to do with that, did you?
No, no, of course not.
Okay. You were eating at a restaurant with him here just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, yeah, and it
So
did upset my tummy.
yeah.
We could have had some bad mushrooms. I who
No,
knows?
Charlie Hustle passed away. Dikembe Mutombo passed away
Dikembe,
also.
man, Chris
Yeah,
Christopherson. This was a bad three, man.
that's
Can you
right.
imagine
That
having that
is.
on the bingo card? You had Chris Christopherson, Dikembe Mutombo, and Pete Rose.
Yeah, who would have put those three together?
I'm not me.
Not me. Highwayman, Mr.
Yep.
Mr.
We got,
Fingerwag,
you know, yep.
and
Now,
Charlie Hustle.
on this episode of the Hawg Slop podcast with Big C, Bigger T, we've got my friend, Tennessee volunteer fan, Scott Loss is going to be on with us. We're, of course, going to talk about what the problems is. We give our players a game from the A&M game, which left us with like the feeling like same old crap, same old crap. And we
Yeah,
preview Tennessee and we talk NIL madness.
all kinds of stuff. So,
Sean
hey,
Michelle,
listen to Sean Michelle for a second.
take
Like,
it
share,
away, buddy.
comment, subscribe, and get ready for the show. 171, baby. Booyah.
1, 2, 3, 4. You ever seen a lame man walk? Ever heard a dumb man talk? Never seen a blind man see? I promise you a change his name. You ever seen a cancer dead? Ever seen all the poor get fed? Ever seen a prisoner set free? I promise you a change his name.
What's up, everybody? What's going on? It's time for the Hawg Slop podcast. I'm your boy, Bigger T. We're joined as always by my man, Big C, Clint Clark, wearing the flamingos,
I'm
rocking
gonna
the
talk
cool
about.
biker stash.
Yeah.
What you doing, man?
I was over at my dad's house yesterday, mom and dad. I went and saw Tom and Sue because I just hadn't seen him in a while.
Oh,
I'm like,
it's good to go
stop
see
by and
him.
see Tom and
Yeah,
Sue. And dad's like, you got something on your face, and I was like doing this, like, I really got. No, no, he's talking about my mustache.
yeah.
You're a jerk,
It's
Tom.
an old man
And
joke.
I told him, I said, look, I know this looks awful. Like, I'm like, seriously, I don't have this on my face because I'm like, I think this looks good. This is a good look for me. I know it's not.
Yeah, well,
I just do it because I think it's hilarious.
yeah, why not?
And if it entertains me, then that's all that matters.
Well, hey, you've already bought you a farm.
Yeah.
So are you gonna buy a motorcycle next since you got the handlebar mustache?
Oh my goodness. No, I did get the four-wheeler up and running.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
good.
I got the four-wheeler up and running. I was like, woo, riding around the pasture. And like, woo. That's how I
Well,
went. Woo.
woo. Well, folks, as Clint said in the intro, we got his buddy Scott Lawson on this week's episode. He's a Tennessee guy, Tennessee fan,
And
and
we've
he knows a
actually
lot
already
more about
recorded it
them.
and we're splicing this together. So if I mess up the segue, it's not on me, it's on Travis.
That's right.
I'm gonna let
So,
that be right now.
but here we're gonna save our holy Snikes for when he's on because we wanted him to talk about it too.
Yeah.
So we're gonna just get into our reaction to Arkansas versus A&M. Clint, it's the last time in Jerry's world,
Yeah.
as far as we know. Okay, we don't have anything else scheduled there. I wouldn't be shocked if a game ends up us in Oklahoma, us in Texas, like just some random game, us in TCU or SMU or something. Some random game ends up there just to have some year that we're not playing at Little
Well,
Rock maybe or something.
yeah, because I mean, what's going to be sexier for a recruit? Like, hey, you're going to play at War Memorial Stadium, or you're going to get to play at Jerry's World. I mean,
Yeah.
come on. I mean, we got to find a way to get a game there, in my opinion.
But however, good riddance for now with this A&M series.
Ugh.
I think we
It
played
started
there
off so
12
well.
games and we only won one.
It started off so well, Travis. It started off so well, and then it just went south, and it went south fast. And what's bad is they've only like beat us once.
Yeah.
I mean,
Most
it's
of them
all
were close games.
just
Crazy stuff
even in the
happened.
Chad Morris years, it was close.
Yeah.
I guess the one team that Chad Morris would play close, he'd get the crap beat out of him by North Texas and Western Kentucky.
That's right.
He would hang close to A&M for some reason. It just, and this was one of the games that just left you with a feeling like the same old crap.
Yep.
It just keeps happening. Like you have them. It's like you have it, and then you don't. And here's the
Yeah.
thing: Texas A&M, if you just look pure talent wise, is a better team than Arkansas.
Yeah.
They have better players. When it comes to the Jimmies and Joes, I really think the Razor. I mean, to get within four, it just says for the outstanding job coaching they're doing. But here's the thing: if Sam Pittman's going to keep his job, and me and you both love Sam Pittman, and I hope he is the head coach for many years, I really think he is the right guy for the job.
Yeah.
But to keep it, you're going to have to start winning these games.
Yep.
You're going to have to win some of these games. And I wasn't. I thought it was unfair, Trey, to say it's year five and he still hasn't got it figured out. A&M's had to get it figured out because if you take star ratings, Texas A&M still has more talent.
Yeah.
You have to do it with less at Arkansas. You just do. But that's being said, you know that's the job when you go into it. And Pittman knew that was the job going into it.
One of the biggest things that bit us was depth. They
Depth
had more
that
depth
got
than
us
we
against
did.
that even got us against Oklahoma State.
Yeah. Now, here's what I want to do. Let's talk about our players of the game. We got to pick some. I know it's difficult. Uh,
On offense, it's not difficult at all to me.
well,
It, it,
let's
it,
let's
it, it,
let's
it,
pick let's pick our players of the game, and then we'll talk about the three biggest concerns we have right now for this team. Okay, going into the Tennessee game.
And what's
We'll
crazy is
start with
we talked on
A&M.
the phone before this, and we like immediately the first two, and then we had a different third one because I really wasn't thinking about it. And then I'm like, oh my goodness. When you started talking, I was like, man, I was thinking the exact same
Yeah.
thing. So pretty much we agree.
So, who's your offensive player of the game?
Isaac Tesla.
Yeah,
I mean, how can it not be? I mean, we've all been wondering where he was all year. And I mean, he got a couple really key PIs called. Um, I guess was it UAB?
yeah,
I'm brain
I think
farting,
so.
but anyway, but no, he really showed up this game. 75-yard touchdown out the gate. Um,
I'll tell you where we really need him right now too. We need to go to him more, and like I said, he had a big game, but we need him because Luke Haas is not healthy. His back is hurting him bad, and Tesla is not a tight end, okay, but he runs similar routes,
yeah,
and he's a big, strong guy, so he can kind of post up on the defender and get some of those same kind of routes, those same kind of tough yards that Luke Haas would get. Okay. A lot of those seam routes, a lot of those quick hooks in the middle of the field. He can run a lot of those same type of things and be that safety valve and that sure shot guy for Green. And I think he showed that against A&M. And so I think he definitely had the best game. But I got a different player of the game.
I'm 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 excited to hear it.
He didn't have quite as good a stats as Tesla, but he did something that I, as far as leadership goes, that made me give him my player of the game. Yeah, this is my player of the game. I'm not saying Tesla was probably had the best game. Andrew Armstrong.
He did show some leadership on the sideline for sure.
He did what he should have done as a leader of the team and got into the offensive line on the sideline and tried to fire him up. Okay. Now, the word is him and Blackstock got kind of nose to nose, and Green had to separate them. But someone needed to talk to Blackstock because he had a bad game. Okay.
Yeah.
He wasn't living up to his potential. He wasn't living up to whatever we're paying him on NIL. Okay. He wasn't doing, in fact, the right side of our line, we'll talk about that later. But so not only was Armstrong once again steady Eddie, the guy that Green can go to on a regular basis. He's the guy he trusts, but he also stepped up as a leader. And he was one of the guys, he got to go out for the coin toss. He was one of the guys that was in Dallas for SEC Media Days. He's obviously a guy that this team sees as a leader, and that's why he was willing to go to whatever the weakness was on the offense and say, guys, we got. Now, I don't know exactly what he said, so he may not have showed good leadership on how he said it, but somebody needed to say it.
Yeah.
And it needed to be a player, not just a coach. I'm sure the coaches were in their ear, but a player needed to say it. And so that's why Andrew Armstrong is my player of the game.
I think I know who you're going with, so I'm gonna go the obvious route here, and I'm gonna give it to Landon Jackson once again. Because there was a series or two where Landon took over single-handedly was shutting them down.
Yeah.
Uh, and Landon's been great all year. You see why he's going to be a first-round draft pick and make a gajillion dollars.
Yeah.
Um, he's going to go. He's not going to go early enough where I'm going to see him on Hard Knocks. So I'm a little bit upset about that.
Yeah.
But he's going to go. He's going to make some. He's going to make some team very, very happy. Uh,
And it was great that he had a game like that against a very good offensive line.
Very good offensive
Because
line.
one of the concerns about him was he's had his games, like he had a good game against Alabama last year, but he was doing it against a freshman left tackle.
Yeah.
And so people were like, oh, he just abused that freshman. Well, this game he was going against on both sides because they were putting him on the right and left side. He was going against A&M's tackles and having a great game.
Yep.
So he was going to be mine, but since you said him,
I thought you were going to go with the other one, so I'm sorry.
I'm going to go with uh, his backup.
See, I figured that's where you were going. I've teed it up for you,
You
buddy.
did. You did very well. Now, look, he didn't have the stats. Okay. Landon Jackson was obviously the player of the game, right? On defense. But Quentin Rhodes, isn't that his name?
Quincy.
Quincy Rhodes had a really good game, man. Like, and I know his stats wasn't crazy, but if you watched him, he set the edge well. He did lose contain a couple times but they're a lot of defensive ends are going to have a hard time keeping contain against that running quarterback they have
Yeah.
against Reed. Okay, I mean that was difficult for anybody.
Yeah.
But he really, and that kid is 6'7", 280. I mean, he's nearly
No,
the
no, like
same
you said,
size.
if there's Landon Jackson not playing, not on this team, he's playing a heck of a lot more.
Yeah,
Now, that being said, part of our issues um, kind of goes back to these two, and we'll talk about that in a second. But Travis, what is the number one biggest issue we have plaguing this Arkansas team that we need to get fixed
the
if
biggest
Sam Lincoln's going to be
concern,
here next year?
the biggest concern we have is quarterback.
Yeah.
And it's not just, look, I'm not even talking about the incomplete passes. I'm not even talking about the turnovers necessarily. Those are bad, and we need to fix those. But I'm talking about staring down receivers. I'm talking about making bad choices in the running game. Now, on the RPO, now at times he makes really good choices, but he made some bad ones against A&M on whether to keep the ball. There's a couple times he should have let it go and let Jackson take off with it. Um, but Clint, he stares down. I mean, you watch some of these D backs, they don't have to, they just watch where he's looking and stick with that guy because he stares down that guy. And not only that, we're going to talk about our O line a little bit later. But one of the problems is instead of stepping up into the pocket, and I know sometimes he can't step up into the pocket because the things break down, but sometimes he could have. And most of the time, when it was the left side of the line breaking down and their guy getting through, part of the problem was he was running backwards and giving that defensive end or linebacker that was coming a better angle to get to him. instead of stepping up in the pocket like he should have.
Yeah. No, and my concerns is his accuracy, number one. And then he stares them down, too. But he's got to get more accurate. Because when me you talk about this on the phone, I'm like, he's got the accuracy of a stormtrooper.
Yeah.
It's not that bad, but but it's not good either.
Yeah.
And he's got to get some stuff cleaned up. But now the good news is I really believe in the guy that's coaching him. I really do.
Yeah.
And he brought out a little bit old Bobby Petrino. They're like, Bobby Petrino is yelling at Taylor Green right now. If Petrino's been calm, like you haven't seen bad Bobby, but he brought out a
Yeah.
little bit of bad Bobby.
Well, and the other thing is Pittman in his press conference today said that Taylor Green is struggling with confidence right now. And so they've got to get his confidence up. And it even talks, and they've even talked about Jaquindon Jackson is having to tell him to calm down. And here's my thing, Clint. And I was talking to Joey about this earlier today. And this is just a what if, and I don't know. This may be stupid, but hey, I've
Well,
said stupid things. You know,
I can confirm.
would Taylor Green work better in a dual quarterback system like we did with Matt Jones early on? And here's why I say that. Here's why I say that. Because that's what he did at Boise State. And we saw against Auburn, they took him out and put Malachi Singleton in. Now, I don't know if Malachi Singleton's able to be the other guy. Against UAPB, he looked like he could have, but it's doubtful. And they're both similar in the way they play, so it probably wouldn't work good. Okay. But my question, the reason I bring up that question is Taylon Green came out for that drive, and then he came back in and he looked like a different guy.
No, maybe give Malachi a drive a game or something. I don't know. I
And
don't.
so maybe not a full quarter to dual quarterback, but
You know,
when he's struggling, take him out, let him settle down, let
yeah.
Malachi do some stuff, and then bring him back in.
Yeah,
I don't
well,
know.
well, I mean, no, and Travis, the definitely, I think the second biggest issue that we've got to get fixed, is the right side of the offensive.
Yeah, for sure.
I think from center, I think Addison Nichols is playing adequately.
Mhm.
I mean, he's got every now and then he needs to
He
get the
may be
step
our
up.
best offensive lineman when he's healthy.
Yeah. I think Carmona, I know he's had a couple rough spots, but that's going to happen in a game.
Yeah.
You're going to get beat every now and then. Um,
Especially going against the guys in the SEC.
and I think Marion Harris is he he might be. Those are your top three. Josh Braun has struggled, and Blackenstock had a rough outing. He
Yeah.
had a really rough outing.
And the reason we're saying Blackstock is not just okay, it's not just the obvious, but it is obvious. He's making bad reads on blitzers. People are picking on him. Okay, they're sending two guys at him, and he don't know which one to get. Sometimes he won't get either. And Braun's getting mixed up too. At first, I was thinking, well, maybe Braun isn't doing as bad. Maybe Blackstock's messing up, and it's making Braun look bad. And then I went back and watched some of it, and that's wrong. Braun has had some struggles too. Okay. The
Yeah.
other thing is, Blackstock is not getting good sets. Okay. What he's doing is if a guy's out and is outside blitzing, he's going straight down the line to cut him off instead of taking a step back and
Taking
getting a
a
good
drop step.
and instead
Yeah.
of taking a drop step and getting a good angle on him. And that'll screw up an offensive lineman when you do that. Okay. You can do that when you're run blocking, but when you're pass blocking, you can't do that. That's how pockets get collapsed. That's how you just get beat outside, but with speed guys, the type of speed you're going to play against in the SEC.
And I do think, I mean, you even said this when we were on the phone earlier, is that if Patrick Kudus was healthy
Yeah.
and could play, he would. And now, and I'm going to segue to the
Well,
third.
let's finish that thought because you started it and didn't finish it.
Well, no,
If
because
Patrick Kudus could play, then he would be left guard,
and
and
then
Harris would start at right tackle. I think.
right.
I think Blackstock is playing that bad. In fact, we'll talk about that a little more on
Well,
the.
and I'm kind of, and I know I know you had a different third thing, and so I'm going to get on the miss. But my third thing is the players that have the opportunities, and every player has it. In even in practice or game, you got to take advantage of those opportunities.
Mm,
Um, we had a center out, and they put me in at center in practice, and I didn't take first team reps in an actual practice, and I didn't take advantage of the opportunity. I proved that I was not on that level, and Mullins did the right thing. Um, Now, 21-year-old Clint thought Mullins was a jerk and was picking on him, but
mm,
48-year-old Clint was like, yeah, he's
yeah.
right. But I'm going to bring up two two things the two incidents that happened. Number one, let's talk about Quincy Wiggins getting pretty much the entire game against UAB.
Yeah.
And Pittman's like he played okay. He played okay.
Yeah.
Had Quincy went in there against an inferior opponent and graded out at a 90, he's got him talking like maybe we should give Quincy some reps at right guard. That you could have happened. And then I'm going to talk about Malachi Single. They didn't just go in there and put him in because Taylor Green was having cramps,
Yeah.
um, and say, okay, hand the ball off 3 times. They let him throw the ball. I mean, it was just a glimpse.
Yeah.
It was a glimpse. But you think if he'd completed that pass and drove him down the field and they'd have scored a touchdown, that they would have pulled him?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, they probably would have kept him in there and saw what happened, but we'd only scored 7 points at the time.
Yeah.
Um, and so he would have equaled the output for the game. So that's why I want to say the players that have like Quincy Rose has got an opportunity, he made the most out of it.
Yeah.
These other guys that are getting some playing time, when you get in there, when your number is called, it is on you, the player, because I don't think the schemes are bad. I think there's some better. Well, and I'll go ahead and segue to you on this one because your third thing was about what I was saying. There could be some better choices made, don't you think?
Well, and that's the thing, and that's the third one is coaching decisions. Um, Now some of this is maybe coming from the fact that Pittman is not a guy that's going to throw anybody under the bus, and he takes the fall for bad some of the bad things that happen. Okay, and some of it he probably doesn't deserve. However, let's talk the obvious. Fake field goal after a timeout. Okay. Everyone in the world, if they watch any film, they know that our kicker struggles. You just called a timeout. So you have time. You have plenty of time for their coach to sit over there, watch for the fake. This guy's not a good kicker. Watch for the fake. Hey, they already faked the punt. Watch for
Yeah.
the fake.
You've either got to kick it at that point or go for it. I don't think
Exactly.
a fake is what it is.
Exactly.
I agree, but that was one decision. But there was another decision me and you talked about in coaching. I got right in my car right as the fourth quarter, towards the end, and I was driving home, and they were talking about how Landon Jackson was going off.
Yeah.
Like Landon was going off, and Landon was there, and it was the right at, and it was, and then we went up 3 points. We drove down, kicked the field goals. There was still time left, and you're like, okay, stop them here and score a touchdown. It's over. You have this game won.
Yeah.
That's what we need. That's what you need. Like we just can get up 2 scores. This is over.
Yeah.
And I listened, and I was like, okay. And keep in mind, they said that Quinn Grovey was on the radio saying Landon Jackson is taking over this game. He's taking over this game. And they go, yep, they got the backup defensive line in there, and they listed off the guys. I know Quincy was in there, and he'd had a good game, but Quincy's not Landon Jackson. The decision right there when it was the drive that could you have to have your first team defensive line in right there. You can't let them get any momentum. You've got your foot on their throats. End it.
Yeah. It wasn't just that, Clint. It didn't stop there. because Quincy went out and the third string defensive end went in. Okay. So they had the third string defensive end in on when I would have been okay if Quincy would have been in there, to be honest with you, because if you need to get your guys a breath. But here's the other thing: why can't you give two of them a breath at a time? If they need a breath, okay, well then leave Lennon Jackson and Eric Gregory in there and give Davier and
Cam Ball
Ball
rest.
a rest or vice or whatever, okay, or leave Gregory and Ball in there and take the two defensive ends out. Instead, they platoon them and take all four out, and then you take Quincy out and put in your third.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's got to be, you got to think through that a little bit, man.
I
Especially
don't
on
know.
that.
I don't know if that was Deke's decision. I don't know if that's Williams' decision. I don't
Yeah,
know if
and a
it's
lot of
decision.
times you're right. A lot of times that is the position guys call. And we don't
But
know what
I
was going on the
remember,
sideline. We don't know if they were winded or cramping or whatever, but man, it
remember,
just didn't look
remember
good.
years ago, Nebraska had that quarterback, Tommy Frazier. Um, that he had been out, and they had started the other guy in the national championship game, and it was nip tuck, and Tom Osborne goes, "I want the ball in Tommy's hands.
Yeah.
I want the ball in Tommy's hands."
Yeah.
If Pittman's got to go, I want Landon in there.
Well,
I want,
and here's the deal. We've already had a problem with that they've acknowledged because in the Oklahoma State game, Pittman came out at the press conference and said we should have rested Jackson earlier in the game. We should have gave the ball more to Russell and let him run that played him more earlier in the game so that on the 4th and 1 play at the end of the game, we have our best running back in instead of our 185-pound running back trying to get that crucial, crucial play. Now, I understand why Jackson wasn't in there. He was cramping up all over. He couldn't, literally, physically couldn't. He'd given all he could. But if you sub him earlier in the game a little bit and give him some rest, which once again, this week we got a better chance of that, and especially in the running back because Rashad Dominion is off a suspension. If you haven't heard today, he is going to be back, and I think that he's going to add a lot if he gets some play, which he
yeah,
should get some playing time. But yeah, Clint, I think I'm just, and here's the deal, man. Like you said, I love Sam Pittman. Okay, I'm glad. Like I want him to work for the University of Arkansas until he can't work anymore. Okay, when he wants to retire, I want him to be able to retire as a Hog, and I want him as soon as he retires, I want him to be, work and help in recruiting or going
yeah,
and talking at touchdown clubs. I want him to still have a good relationship with the university. I want him to still be around, just like I wish Houston Nutt was still
yeah.
around the university.
Well, and I always said this about Sam Pittman is whether he listen. He is. I said if nothing else, he's going to leave it better than he found it,
Yeah.
and he did bring respectability back to Arkansas.
Yeah.
I mean, we may slip up and lose to Liberty, but we're 3-2, and we've just won an SEC road game. We're not getting blown out at home by Western Kentucky and North Texas, and
Yeah.
the signature win's not a win against Colorado State. But Travis, enough looking back. Let's go ahead and bring on a special guest and let's
Well, hold
talk.
on. Just I want to finish my thought. You interrupted
Okay,
me. So I just want to bring this out.
okay, I will shut
But
up.
my problem with Sam Pittman is
This is your
this,
fault.
and I've said this before. There's something in his leadership style that they don't complete the big games. We got to put that on him because I've put it on the players the last few years. And the only consistent thing, because we've changed out the roster, and I feel like we have some good leaders on this team. Okay. I feel like
I do
with
too.
what we saw from Armstrong, Carmona, Taylor Green, Jackson, I think we got some leadership. Okay. The thing that is consistent is Pittman. I hope he figures it out. And I hope, like you said, we're not in dire situation yet, but I hope he figures it out because I want to see this team do well. I really like these guys. I like this team. I hope they do well. Now go ahead and talk about our
Right.
guest we're about to bring in.
Right. Yeah. We're gonna go ahead and we've already recorded this, so if I screw this up, it's on Travis. 110%. It is on his phone. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna bring on Mr. Scott Laws, a Tennessee volunteer fan. East Tennessee State University is gonna have some fun anecdotes for us about their experience this week. Anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and bring on Mr. Scott Laws. And guys, it's time to welcome our special guest, Mr. Scott Lawson. He's a dirty, dirty Vol fan, and I hate him. I hate him. I hate his guts. I look at him, and you have the most perfect. You and Eli Drinkwitz has the most slappable face.
Oh, come on.
No, no
Don't
one's got
compare
a
me to
more slappable
Dorkwitz.
face. Hey, but you guys,
Clint, that was a little low to compare
That's
him
a
to
little bit below
Drinkwitz.
the
I mean,
belt.
that's. I mean, I'm all for picking on Tennessee fans, okay, but that's just a little much, okay. At
okay,
least,
good. I'm sorry.
Next thing you'll do is say
I
I look
cannot
like
compare
Mark
Eli.
Stoops.
You know, me,
yeah.
me and Drinkwitz have the same alma mater, so we do have that going for us.
Oh yeah, you do.
Yeah, we do. Me and Drinkwitz. Scott, how you doing, my man? Great to have you on again. We had you on a couple years ago when we were competing against our mothers as guest pickers.
Yeah.
Uh, Worst guest picker we had, Michelle Donahue, believe it or not. Terrible.
I'm
They
not
only
at
got
all
three
surprised
games
by
right.
that.
Huh?
I'm not at all surprised by that. Come on.
Well, she picked by the team she hated to lose, not because yeah. So
Yeah.
but Scott, once again, how you doing? Life treating you well?
Life's been pretty good. Obviously, been a pretty rough few days. Native Northeast Tennessee, and so it's been a pretty rough 5 or 6 days. If you haven't followed much of what's going on up there, Hurricane Helene pretty much just wiped out a good portion of Western North Carolina and my home. So it's just been kind of watching that as it's unfolded. And friends of mine from I live down in the Spring Hill, Tennessee area now, which is if you're familiar with the old Saturn cars, Saturn was made in Spring Hill, and I live down this way now. But we've seen a ton of people and friends of mine down here that have gone up to try to help with the cleanup and just rescue and recovery uh, mission that's going on up there. So for those listening, please, if you feel so inclined to donate. Uh, Ironically enough, East Tennessee State Athletics has a donation thing set up, as well as United Way of Northeast Tennessee.
Mhm.
Pretty much every church, just
Yeah.
Google Baptist Church in Johnson City,
Yeah.
and they're all accepting like
Yeah.
anything: clothing, money, food, water, cleaning supplies, the whole bit. And so,
One I always like to push out when things like this happen is with I'm a Southern Baptist preacher, and the Southern Baptists work with the Red Cross. We have a disaster relief arm that goes out and does feeding for people. That they set up cooking units for feeding people, shower units for people that need showers. They have these big trailers where they can get showers and do laundry, and also they set up they come in and cut down trees and stuff like that. And I know Arkansas Baptists have already sent out some units for that. They work, like I said, hand in hand
Awesome.
with the Red Cross. So you can give to Southern Baptist Disaster Relief. You can give to Red Cross. It ends up that the Southern Baptists just work as an arm. Like they end up being the kitchen and the Red Cross takes the food out, that kind of thing.
that's
It
outstanding.
works. So if you want to help with that, those are two good ways. What was the other one? The college you said?
So East Tennessee State,
Yeah,
it's
and
my
I'm happy.
alma mater.
Yeah, and I'm happy you brought them up because it's kind of on the hurricane, kind of getting away from several different ways to give. Red Cross again, so many East Tennessee State. East Tennessee State had an adventurous game week. You want to tell us about that, Lawson?
Oh my goodness! So little known fact, this is not my first foray into podcasting and television. I used to host Inside Buck Sports, our ETSU coaches show. So still Princess Day,
Seen by
J6.
dozens. I mean,
Oh,
dozens.
absolutely. We were nationally syndicated, though. We were internationally known without football in 2003, 2004. Everybody was tuning in to watch highlights of volleyball and women's soccer that finished mid pack in the Atlantic Sun
It
Conference.
was, dude, it was through the roof in Croatia.
Oh,
It,
absolutely. We were 10 million homes. Actually, no, it was
the last year I did it, we had to reach a 50 million homes, which actually, in terms of selling to advertisers, worked out pretty good. Even though our numbers obviously were terrible, but it's
Right.
kind of like all elite wrestling, for being honest. So we can still sell it though, especially to local advertisers. But
That's what we should do.
Yeah.
oh,
We're
absolutely,
available everywhere. I mean,
That's
yeah. I
right.
mean,
watch this, but it's okay.
well, yeah. I mean, if listen, people are buying Cornette's podcast. I mean, they're going to buy you guys, right?
Every house with a cell phone or computer can get our podcast, folks.
Yeah.
That's right. That's 6 billion people.
That's
Key
right.
demo, guys. I'm telling you.
That's right.
But yeah. So
We're really over with the emo kids too. I'm not sure if you
oh,
knew.
that's even better. And yeah, so the boys decided. I mean, you guys kind of went to smaller schools too, Clean Arkansas Tech, obviously, but so they decided they wanted to play, and they were playing at the Citadel, famous service academy down Charleston, South
Oh,
Carolina.
Arkansas fans know about the Citadel.
Yeah.
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 Oh, that's a sore
That, well, that's
subject.
got no, because that's what got Jack Crow fired.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Citadel, yeah.
So I've never, truth be told, I've kind of never been a fan of them. I've always been a VMI guy when it comes to the service academies. Virginia Military Institute, hands down, head and shoulders above the Citadel. They truly developed some of the best men I've ever dealt with in my life are VMI men. But anyways, I keep digressing. Keep up, look, a squirrel. But so the guys decided they want to play a football game, and the water levels hadn't quite risen up yet. And so they're hustling, getting the equipment loaded, get everything on the buses, get the truck loaded, get out of town. The truck gets through in plenty of time, but the buses don't. So they get in Hendersonville, North Carolina, which is about 20 minutes roughly south of Asheville, when both of the bridges on Interstate 26 wash out. Can't turn around and go back.
Mm.
They get stranded on the interstate. And at some point, they were able to pull off. And there's a great article by Pat Forty that on SportsIllustrated.com that really goes into full detail about how, like, what all really went on. But the short version of this story is they tried at this point to get in touch with the Citadel and get the game moved to Sunday, and they wouldn't do it. It's parents weekend in Charleston, and their excuse for not moving the game was because it was parents weekend and the cadets and their families had dinner reservations. They wanted to play this game. Now, obviously, knowing
Wow.
what we know now, we're talking about, lives lost, homes destroyed,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
entire infrastructure in that part of the country is
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
And the Citadel's refusing to move a football game 24 hours. So eventually they get to a point where they can stop and they pull over and the water just keeps rising up and like, what are we going to do? And they do get to higher ground. Well, they're at the point they were able to stop and they couldn't go any further. There were no hotels. There was no food. There was no anything. They stopped in an Ingles parking lot initially, and the grocery store had lost power. And the grocery store manager at this Ingles fed them the food that they were going to throw away, which was basically about 100 pre-made sandwiches that were going to have to be tossed. And so the kids had something to eat.
Mm.
And they eventually found a safe place to be in the parking lot of a homeless shelter. And they
Wow.
slept on the bus, still having to play a football game. The next day it was scheduled for 2 o'clock. Eventually the Citadel agreed to move it to 5. A man from Michigan, and I believe his last name was Ratliff, knocked on the door of the buses at about 3:30 in the morning and said, "Hey, the interstate is open again. You guys can go." And they drove, and the guys got on the buses and drove from just south of Hendersonville out to the Atlantic coast in South Carolina to Charleston. They pulled in sometime around 6:30. The coaches at that point had called a Waffle House in town and ordered Waffle House for 115 people.
Yeah.
Players, yeah. Imagine that Waffle House thinking, "What do you mean we got to cook the hunt?"
Yeah.
Like that's a whole lot of hash browns.
That's a
You
lot of
know,
How do you go
scattered,
play?
smothered, and covered. Yeah.
yep, hand chunked and omelets and eggs and bacon. Like I can't imagine. Like how in the world did they serve 100 people at once? But they did, and so they got in. They were able to sleep, kind of have a couple of meetings, went out and played a football game that afternoon and won.
I was sitting here thinking that entire thing. I guarantee you this was a lot harder on the 40-year-old coaches than it was the 19-year-old, 20-year-old kids
Yeah, yeah,
that slept
Yeah.
on the bus. Like the head
So,
coaches out there, like sprinkled up, like, oh God, and the quarterback just out there slinging it.
the good thing as a coach, you could probably come up with a pretty good pregame speech out of all that happening.
oh, he did. And
Yeah,
so the best thing about Trey Lamb, he's first year head coach at ETSU. He was at Gardner Webb last year. His dad, Bobby Lamb, who helped start football back up at Mercer. He's retired now, but he was the head coach at Furman University for years. He was the one, if you remember, Bobby Johnson, that was the head coach at Vanderbilt for all those years. The first time Vanderbilt kind of got to being pretty decent
mm,
before James Franklin.
yeah,
Um, he was kind of the one that really taught Bobby Johnson everything he knows. And then Bobby took over Furman when Bobby left, or when Bobby Lamb left and Bobby Johnson took over. And then Coach Johnson came on to Vanderbilt and they had success. So, really great family and great people. And,
yeah,
I would urge people to go out and kind of go down the rabbit hole of, reading about the story about how they got there, how they got back. The fans, the marching band came back and was waiting on them at the mini dome in Johnson City.
yeah,
When they got home and played them out when they got off the bus. And, this was a team that went 3-8 a year ago.
yeah.
And, just, a lot of dysfunction going on within that program last year to where they are this year. And I mean, you guys, obviously played ball and know like that type of experience and story, and they were 2 minutes from beating North Dakota State a couple of weeks ago, went on the road to Elon and nobody predicted them to win. I had thought they could win and went out and blew Elon's doors off. And now they've come back and went through that
Yeah,
and beat
that's
the
cool.
Citadel. Like that's the type of thing like that can galvanize a football team.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
for
so
sure.
I don't know if you can say I played football. I hung out, so
Yeah,
it played spades, and Travis made a kick once. Did you ever? Well, no, that
yeah, yeah. Let's
you've
not
heard
talk about
enough about his kick. Hey,
it.
now we always do a Holy Shnikes moment of the week, and Holy Shnikes, if NIL wasn't crazy enough, if UNLV's quarterback come and said, "Hey man, they promised me 100 G's. Where's my 100 G's?" And UNLV was like, "What 100 G's? We spent it on what they probably went and gambled it away. You think Barry Oldham went out there and put like that 100 grand
On the
on
nickel
flat?
slots, man, nickel
Nickel
slot.
slides. He's down on
Yeah.
there on Fremont Street. Just
He's sitting there with a martini and just pulling the handle,
so, but he
that's
basically
really
push a
what
button, whatever.
held him up for 100 grand. Say, look, we're undefeated. I'm your quarterback. You want me to stay? It's going to be 100 grand. Who knows how it went down? But he wanted the 100 grand. To me, and this is me because when it first came out, one of our friends is an old curmudgeon. His name is Robert Branscombe. There's your plug, Robert. Anyway, so he's like, I just tell that kid he's no longer on the team, which is probably what they did. But if they promised him $100,000 and he was promised that and they didn't deliver, I don't blame the kid for walking. Because to me, you only get 5 years to make money if you're a college quarterback.
Yeah.
Might as well use all five of them and make as much as you can. But that's just me. I'm a greedy,
yeah.
greedy man. What are your guys' thoughts?
I'm sort of with you. At first, I was down on the guy. I think I said in our little text group, I said, my team to hate is going to be wherever this kid goes, wherever he transfers to, because if that's what happened, because the rumor at first was that he had just got an agent, and his agent had told him to do this because they were in the top 25, and that he had came and asked for more money than what they had given him. Then it comes out, he says, no, no, no. They told me I was going to get $100,000 and they didn't give it. Then
Yeah.
UNLV says that promise was never given. Then a casino comes in and says,
Yeah, the
we'll
circa.
pay the hundred
That's
thousand.
because that's where Odom lost the money.
That's right. They said, we'll pay the 100,000 if you'll keep him. And UNLV said, no, we don't need it. This is a UNLV team was just made the top 25. Whenever this kid steps out to redshirt this year, a running back that was, I think he was sharing carries, wasn't he? But he was still a prominent player, like he was getting a lot of carries. He steps out also, And then another player that apparently I don't think was getting a lot of playing time steps out also. So they lose three players because this two other players because
And
the school
still won this weekend.
and still won this weekend. That's
Now,
right.
the Lawson, I think you got a little bit different perspective than what we do.
I did. I went down the rabbit hole. So when you look at the student athletes numbers, well, there's several things. Before we get to the numbers, he didn't get it in writing. He didn't go. So the university, obviously, the University of Nevada, Las Vegas can't pay him directly yet.
It's he said she said at this point
Yeah,
too.
it is because he didn't get it in writing from the NIL collective, which is what he should have done. And because he didn't, it's not there. And
Mm,
so, Circa did obviously offer the $100,000. Hey, here it is. It's nothing to a casino, whatever. But at the same time, when you look at his numbers, like his QBR really wasn't that good. His completion percentage was terrible. Uh,
We know something about that.
yeah.
yeah, like come on, we'll get there in a minute. That's another. We'll get to that plane here in a minute. But no, and so you really sit down and you look at it, it's like, was this guy really worth $100,000? Did they really
Mm,
offer this to him? And so you get into this he said, she said. He's a fifth-year transfer from Holy Cross. And so, he's already got his degree. He's playing this last year. He had won the job over a guy who, quite honestly, Saturday against a really good Fresno State team. I got to watch a lot more football other than Tennessee football because we were on a bye week. And you know, the kid they put in, who was a Campbell University transfer, the Fighting Camels of Booties Creek, North Carolina. Spitters are definitely not quitters. He has his degree as well. Fantastic quarterback, was lights out, looked a whole lot better than this kid.
yeah.
And so now it's like, well, maybe he kind of did the right thing.
Yeah.
Where does this really land? And it's tough. And for the running back, he entered the portal. It wasn't necessarily about money; he just wasn't getting enough carries or playing time. He's going
Yeah.
to end up, you know, he'll end up in a good FCS program. He'll do what he
Yeah.
needs to do, or find a place that's
Yeah,
a better fit.
well, it's just one of them. They preserve. He's not getting the carries. He wants to preserve the red shirt.
Yeah.
And man, we could go on down a whole NIL transfer portal rabbit hole, and then we wouldn't have any time to talk about anything else.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
So Scott, let's talk about your volunteers, man.
the dirty volunteers.
They're having a great year. I know you're a happy camper. Everybody in volunteer land is tickled to death. What are they ranked right now? Four?
Moved up to fourth this week.
Yeah.
A whole
They,
lot better situation than I believe the last time I did this, and I ended up having to go in a Facebook group and sing Chris Stapleton's Arkansas live
Right.
because
yeah.
couldn't tackle, couldn't play defense, and the coach at the time didn't know what asparagus was. So
Yeah. Well, so far this year, Tennessee beat Chattanooga 69-3, as they should. Then
yeah,
had a great win against North Carolina State, 51-10. Beat Kent State 71-0. And then, of course, the big win for Josh Heupel goes to Oklahoma. It was at Oklahoma, wasn't it?
it was. It was out in
Yeah,
Norman. They need to mow the grass, by the way.
yeah.
Yeah, that was a sloppy field.
That's to slow down y'all's quarterback.
It
Uh,
was, and
25-15. He got his 10-point win against his alma mater and team that I guess Stoops let him go, I guess, wasn't it, at one
he
time?
did. So they and I really, because of the professional wrestling fan in me, I hate to use the word scapegoat.
Yeah.
Just because Dylan McKay's kid calls himself that, and then yeah. So, but yeah, so they made Heupel scapegoat, and the offense kind of went sour that one year and terminated him. And obviously, I mean, we've all had to deal with him at some point when he was at Missouri and had Drew Lock, and they blew our doors off.
Yeah.
And his time at Central Florida, and so he finally gets to come back.
Hmm.
Oklahoma's deal with the football field, that bit them in the butt. Every scholarship wide receiver they have is injured currently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every single one of them. They had, I think it was 20 scholarship players out last week against Auburn because of the conditions of their own field, which
Yeah.
there really does, and that's something that obviously could be a great offseason topic about the standardization of, you know, hey, the football fields need to be in this kind of shape. We're getting 60 to $70 million a school every year
Yeah.
just on football rights alone. Like, Let's take care of the football field,
Yeah.
guys. Come on, we can do better than that. So if
So
you can't, put field turf down.
so one of our biggest concerns with Arkansas right now is our offense. Even though we got Bobby Petrino in, and we think they're getting some good play calls, our quarterback and our offensive line. So tell us what we're going to be facing with the defensive line and D backs for Tennessee.
So defensive line was going to be good no matter what, and I mean that all starts and stops with James Pierce. His preseason All Conference, preseason All American, projected top three, top four pick in the NFL draft. But it's not been so much him this year because he's getting double and triple teamed at
Mm,
time, and so you're seeing guys like Omar Norman Lott and a Bryson Eason, Amari Thomas, and Big Elijah Simmons, and you know a friend of Clinton ours, Adam Brooks, he knows Tyree West really well, who both in the Chattanooga game and in the NC State game, I have sent Adam text messages and said, "Your boy Tyree just killed a man again. Like
mm,
he nearly broke Grayson McCall in the NC State game in half on a
mm.
blindside hit. Like it, I'm shocked that honestly didn't flag him for unnecessary roughness. Like it was vicious." He's one of those kids that, pretty unheralded, upper two, low three-star recruit. We were desperate for players, didn't have scholarship athletes. They brought him in, and Rodney Garner has done a phenomenal job developing defensive linemen. This is an old, I hate to use the phrase feels like 98, but it's Tennessee and Arkansas. So, we're going to have to talk about Clint Sterner for a little bit.
What are
Oh
you talking about?
no, man, don't bring
No,
that up.
no,
But
no.
it
We're
feels
going to talk
like
about that.
it feels like 98 in terms of that, where Tennessee's deep in the defensive line. And, you look on the back end of the situation, you look on the back end of the defense, and that was the big question mark coming into the year. Transfers and graduations. Two of the guys went to Oklahoma, so it was kind of fun beating them.
Yeah.
It was really fun beating them, actually. But we're starting to walk on at the nickel position, I believe. Tennessee lines up in so many different formations on defense, and so the Will Brooks, he's walk on, one of the few Caucasians to play back in the secondary in all of Division One football. He's not the fastest guy on the planet, but his football IQ is through the roof, and so he just knows where to be on the field. He's in the right place at the right time. He's going to be a problem down the line. Thinking way ahead towards Alabama. Like it's going to be a problem guarding, that 17-year-old kid they've got that
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
destroyed Georgia. Georgia couldn't guard it,
Kid's
couldn't control
good.
him, cover
Yeah.
him either. He's unbelievable. But so far this season, he's been outstanding, and he's continued to develop and get better. And he plays like every play is the last chance he's going to get at it, because it very well could be. He's walk on. He doesn't have a
Yeah.
scholarship. We don't have, and for the first time in my goodness, probably 15 years, Tennessee has 85 legitimate scholarship SEC caliber football players, which it's been at least 15 years since that's happened. So,
Yeah.
So
Well,
if you're Bobby Petrino and you're sitting back and you got the weapons he does, how would you attack your defense? I mean,
run
'cause
straight at them, because you can't outspeed them. And so you're going to have to you're going to have to mix things up a ton, a lot of misdirection, but ultimately go straight at them. Find ways to create space. Look to your outsides, try your bubble screens, short slants, things like that, to try to get the safeties to come back. Because, Arkansas's quarterback, obviously, for passing game is kind of a problem with him. So you're not going to have a lot of success there. We can cover that on the back end. And so you've got to slow the defensive line from getting upfield, getting upfield on the quarterback. And so a lot of quick releases. And you saw Oklahoma do that, especially in the second half, and they had a ton of success with that, especially once they made the quarterback change. And oh my goodness, is that kid going to be a problem? Holy cow. I think I sent you a message earlier today, Clint. I said Oklahoma's going to end up being the team that beats Texas, because that kid's going to be ready to play by then.
mm,
And so that can be problematic. And I've said this before, like Arkansas always scares me. Weird things happen to us out in Fayetteville. They just do. Like I've seen us go out there with better teams and get our doors blown off. I've seen, the punt return that somebody sent that to me this week, and I don't remember who now. That might have been Russell Martin when
Yeah. No,
Arkansas had the
I'm
punt
not gonna.
return where we had the guy completely covered and he still scored.
Joe
Like,
No,
Adams,
that
yeah.
was one of the best. I mean, that's one of the best plays in Arkansas football history.
Yeah.
I
one of
mean,
our
and then
worst.
this turnover is one of the worst. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
unfortunate.
Scott, talk about your offense a little bit. And honestly, it starts, of course, with your quarterback. Is it Nico Lamaleva? Is that anywhere close?
Clint, you got to try it. Let's see if you can get it.
I just call him Nico.
So it's Iamaliava or Iamaliava. So,
Lamaleva. Okay.
and you both will take a moment and acknowledge your orange tribal chief.
No, I ain't doing it.
He is your orange. He is your tribal chief,
No,
and you'll acknowledge him.
no.
But no, everybody loves to talk about Nico. The offense goes through him, and heaven help us if he does get hurt because and I love Gaston more, but he's not Nico. Gaston's going to be a great coach for somebody someday. He really is. He is incredibly
Right.
smart. Serviceable arm. At somewhere like Arkansas State, he's an all-conference football player, and that trumpet player they've got for a football coach out there with the Red Wolves or whatever they're called now, they win 10 games with the guy
Not a
still.
Butch Jones fan.
Yeah. No.
Still not a Butch Jones fan.
No.
Yeah.
Stuff that we could go down. We could go down a rabbit hole about Butch Jones deeper than the one of Joe Hendry. So
Yeah.
I like that. I'm working in all the wrestling references tonight. I'm
There you
gonna
go.
see if I can get them all in. We've still got to get to Ricky Morton, Ricky Steamboat, and Kane, but we ain't there yet.
I got you.
But the big thing everybody likes to talk about is Tennessee's fast paced and it's this gimmick offense. Well, there's nothing gimmicky about it. When Tennessee football historically is good, they run the football well and they play defense. Well, guess what? Tennessee does great, and about 65% of the time this year, they run the football. He's taken his vertical shots downfield and they've hit some of them. Ton of elite wide receivers with Brazil and Brew McCoy, and just they're we're 5-6 wide receivers deep. Squirrel White is fast as lightning. They've got him in the slot, and that's great.
Mhm.
But running the football, and they've gotten a really nice surprise out of Deshaun Bishop, who was a walk on, local kid from Knoxville, and he just wanted to make that impact, and he's worked his tail off, got his body right. He's a great compliment to Dylan Sampson in the backfield, and Cam Seldon is coming along. He's gotten himself way better. He started off the year hurt, and he's gotten healthy as the year's gone on. And so Tennessee runs the ball exceptionally well and comes at you from a lot of different directions. When you sit down and watch, kind of go back and watch the replays, they have a lot of guards pulling an offensive lineman. It's almost like watching a single wing type of offense. They're just snapping the ball to the quarterback every time.
Yeah.
And about every roughly 8 to 12 seconds. So, we have the green dot helmets now. The audio within the quarterback's helmet doesn't go off by the time they're snapping the ball. It's still on.
Yeah.
And so they're playing fast, but they're running the ball. And, the key to Tennessee's offense, if they stay ahead, they can't get behind the chains. But if they're getting 4 yards on first down, they're back on the ball and they're going again. And they have the way the plays are called, they have a set like, hey, if we gain 4 yards, we're going to call this on second down or you know, this on third down. And they know what they're going to do. And it's so automatic. They don't even really think about it that much.
Mhm.
It,
And so,
it, I really think the key to this game for Arkansas, if Arkansas is going to have a chance at winning this game, they have got to run the ball and keep that offense off the field as much as
Yeah.
possible. And they've got to get
that,
off the field on third down, too.
For sure.
that's a
Yeah.
big thing. And Tennessee's they had some issues with NC State, especially that first drive, not being able to stop the run, having some tackling issues. Oklahoma had a ton of success running the football, which is what scares me with Arkansas. The quarterback can run, and he reminds me a lot of Nick Marshall. If you remember Nick Marshall that played at Auburn,
Yeah.
and like
Very
what
similar.
Arkansas is
Yeah.
doing, it's very similar in nature. And it's like, man, if you don't know how to play assignment football, and that's the one advantage Tennessee has, Rodney Garner was there for all of that. He had to coach against Nick Marshall in practice, so he's going to be pretty prepared. And Tim Banks is kind of used to that too, and he's really grown into the position. A year ago, Tennessee fans wanted the defensive coordinator fired. We couldn't tackle, we couldn't stop anybody, and now all of a sudden it's just like it's clicked.
Yeah.
And we had all these defensive backs that left, and it's truly been addition by subtraction. And so Arkansas is scary. Don't put them down and out. I mean, that's a tough environment to play in. That's a long trip from Knoxville, Tennessee to Fayetteville, Arkansas. I mean, it just and they flew obviously, but it's still
Yeah.
that's a long flight. There's time changes involved. It's a weird stadium to play in. And Tennessee historically has not fared well out there.
So what's your prediction on the game?
Go ahead.
So I honestly think it's going to be close until halftime. I see, it'll be kind of one of those 3 to 7 point type games. I think Tennessee's depth, especially on defense in the second half, like I said, Tennessee's really deep at linebacker, deep in the defensive line. I think that's going to be the difference. Just kind of watching some of Arkansas and A&M on Saturday, that's where it seemed to be that A&M got the better of Arkansas. They just had a few more ball players than Arkansas did. Like
Yeah.
Arkansas's just they're so close. And I'm not saying this to be snarky. Like I really hope Sam Pittman gets another couple of years because Arkansas and Tennessee had a lot of the same problems. And Tennessee was able to fix a little bit quicker because we threw more money at it. Like
Yeah.
an unrealistic amount of money, honestly. But they were just able to fix fast. Plus, their offense is just fun. I mean, who doesn't want to play in that? It's like playing a video game. And so we were able to get a little bit further ahead than Arkansas in that situation. But you can see what Sam Pittman is trying to do. And now with Bobby Petrino there as offensive coordinator, Arkansas is close. And I said this at the start of the year. I still think Arkansas gets 6 to 7 wins this year, gets to a bowl game that kind of does what they need to do. But as far as this weekend goes, I think Tennessee pulls away in the second half. It's going to be you'll watch Vol Twitter at halftime. They're going to think the world's ending if we don't deserve to be number 4, but and all that stuff. And then by the fourth quarter, it ends up being somewhere between 17, 21 points, something like that. But it's not
Man,
going to
what do
be.
you think?
I was gonna go. I am saying probably 31-17 Tennessee. Um, I don't think it'll be. I don't think it'll be 3 touchdowns. I think Arkansas. Was the spread's 10.5 Tennessee, I believe.
Mhm.
It wouldn't shock me if Arkansas covers at all. So but I mean, Scott Lawson. I mean, Scott, you put it right on the point where you're talking about it's just the second half. It seems like at the end of the games, like Arkansas just quite can't quite close them out. And I think it'll be, there'll be one of them games where y'all slow it down in the second half and they win comfortably. I don't think it'll be in doubt in the fourth quarter. I think it'll be in doubt at halftime and it'll be one in the fourth.
Correct. I think that'll. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
My thought is, I think our running game will be a little better this week. Mainly, now I don't know how our offensive line is going to do against your defensive line. But we're getting Rashad Dominion back, and he's probably he's the second best all around running back we have. Probably the second best running back. Now he's been suspended for team rules or something, but anyway, he's back, and so I think that's going to be a big help because the backup right now to Jackson is a freshman, 250-pound freshman, and a guy that's 185-pound from transfer from Florida State. So, and those are the only
Hey,
running backs that have played. So, I think having Dominion is going to help because we've wore Jackson down. Like against Oklahoma State, he wasn't in on the last play because he was wore down from being out. So that's just going to add some depth to that.
Yeah.
And so um, I think that'll help us keep the offense at times, maybe in the first half anyway, to keep Tennessee's offense off the field a little bit. And I think you're right. I think at halftime we may go in thinking, man, we got this. But I still think it's going to end up being a close game. I'm going to say 10 points I think Tennessee wins 35-25.
Okay.
When it's all
How
said
are we
and
going to
done.
score 25 points, Travis? I want to hear your
I don't know. I like saying numbers
safety.
like that you don't know how you get to, but you end up getting
It's
them.
the extra point. I don't know.
More than likely, yeah.
I'm just
So
trying. I'm just trying to figure. Hey, are y'all salty about having to play this in Fayetteville? I mean, seriously, because Arkansas fans would be up in arms because we always had to have something to have our panties in the wad about. Because last time we played was 2020. Arkansas did get the W. Of course, that was COVID year,
Yeah.
which was kind of just wonky anyway. But y'all came to Fayetteville, and now the next time we play y'all are having to come here again.
yeah,
Yeah,
Has it even been brought up? Has it just been one of them things like it is what it is?
everybody's kind of taking it is what it is approach with it. Me being a traditionalist, it's y'all's turn to come to Knoxville, and but me also being a traditionalist, if it were me, the way conference realignment worked within the Southeastern Conference, it would have looked radically different than what it is right now.
yeah,
Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Missouri would all be playing each other.
yeah,
That's those five teams, and we would have found a way to get, we would have found a way to get bring two more in, preferably Oklahoma State, and then one other, one from the old Big Eight, one from the old Southwest Conference, and then go that route, and then kind of have that group, and then have the traditional SEC group, and then our our beloved refugees in Columbia, South Carolina. Bless their hearts, they haven't really contributed. Let's take a minute and rag on South Carolina. They haven't really contributed anything. Um,
Women's
so,
basketball probably disagree, but that's okay.
well,
yeah,
yeah, let's. So they've had a nice run in women's basketball while we've been trying to get things figured out ever since Pat died. But outside of that, I mean, what is it in football? A mullet. They gave up their stadium for the filming of the movie, The Program. I was there for that. That was kind of fun. It's really a life
Fantastic
thing.
film. Love it.
yeah,
It was. That was the Tennessee South Carolina game that cost Johnny Majors his job,
yeah,
Oh wow.
and he had just had heart surgery and had come back and took the play calling back over from Philip Fulmer and got too conservative in the second half against South Carolina. We lost and they fired him over it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but I was there for the Georgia Tech scenes in the Georgia Tech Eastern State football game in the movie The Program. If you
Nice.
watch the backgrounds close enough, they were too cheap on production to adjust the colors, and so you can see Tennessee. So you can see the orange and white in the background shots of the stadium.
Wow.
So,
Well,
but yeah,
Scott, man, this is going to be it's a big game for Arkansas.
It's a big game because there's a big difference between going into the bye week 4-2 and 3-3.
And
oh,
honestly,
absolutely,
if
Yeah.
if Arkansas would have beat A&M, it probably would have been the game day game
it very
because
well could have
they're
been.
going to Cal.
Yeah,
So I mean, I think Tennessee, Arkansas. If Arkansas is a top 25 team, I think that has a good chance to get game day.
yeah.
So if Arkansas blew that though, but
Let's take a minute and appreciate the idea of Nick Saban having to be in Berkeley, California, with Pat
yeah,
McAfee, and
uh,
all of the problems that are going that Cal has with that campus right now.
yeah, yeah,
I'm
It'd
not
be,
really sure why they chose
it'd
that location
be a
this
good,
week. I mean,
be a good dump spot. Scott, once again, thank you so much for coming on, jumping on with us. And guys, like, share, subscribe. What is
for
it?
sure.
171, Travis? 171?
171.
And you've been on two.
We're plugging along. That's right.
nice. Yeah, you guys gonna have to get me on again, but thank you for having me on,
Yeah,
and
man.
good luck this
We
weekend. Stay safe
appreciate you.
out there,
Well,
and
we hope you end up sad after Saturday, but
But we don't
we're
think you
also realistic, so we're not
yeah,
gonna hold our breath on that. We're gonna root them on. We're gonna believe that it can happen.
we're going to
We can
believe.
shock the world, but like
that's all
Clint
you
said,
can do.
like, share, subscribe, all those good things. Check us out on Spotify. We also have Instagram, Twitter, all that kind of stuff. Comment, like, share, all that good stuff.
Also, I need to
Absolutely.
announce right here on this podcast, I have left the metaverse.
Okay, Clint has left the metaverse.
I've
So
left
Yeah,
the metaverse.
he won't be
anyway,
gone for long. He'll be
No,
back.
that'll last like a day or two. I just need a
yeah, that's
break.
right. Yeah. All right, folks. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Sweat. One, Kingdom come. Sweat, work, filthy, dirt, harvest, hurt. Kingdom come. Listen, that's why I sweat when I work. My hands get filthy down in this dirt. Won't see no harvest till I hurt. Crying your kingdom come. Listen, I wake up in the morning, I bow my head to pray. Mama told me if I don't, ain't nothing gonna change. These prayers breaking up hard ground so I can sow the seed. Ain't afraid of no aches and pain. Lord knows I gotta follow his lead. That's why I sweat when I work. My hands get filthy down in this dirt. Won't see no harvest till I hurt. Crying your kingdom come.